Let's go to Bob Dahl on this, the Crossmark Chief Investment Officer. Bob, you know, you've been around the financial world for a while here. Don't look a day older for it, my friend. But I am curious to this argument, more government spending, that this is different, that it won't, you know, make the inflation situation worse. I'd just be curious your thoughts on that.
The Inflation Prevention Act, Inflation Reduction Act, I don't get it. Since when do higher taxes and more spending lead to less inflation? I scratch my head. Having said that, Neil, this is now coming out, the announcement of an agreement about the same time inflation is going to start falling. I am in the camp that says second quarter was the peak inflation rate. We're not going back to 2%, but we'll back off some, and they may say, see, I told you so.
Well,
but it won't be that. It'll be the slowing economy, declining commodity prices. Some solve in the supply problem, but inflation's probably peaked.
All right. So in the meantime, there's no doubt we have inflation. There's a back and forth among particularly those in the White House of whether we're in a recession. I raised that issue with Gene Sperling, one of the president's economic advisors, just to try to get a sense of if it isn't a recession, what is it? This is my conversation with Gene Sperling yesterday. When you say that we're not in a recession, whatever hope you get from that, and Americans hear that and remember some of the stuff that I'm talking about, they think you're just out of touch, Gene.
Except we aren't, and I didn't. I started this by saying every family is the greatest expert of their situation, that people feel squeezed or even a gut punch.
No, they feel it's a recession, Gene.
When they go
it's a recession. Okay. Americans feel a recession. They have no doubt about it. I know the back and forth on whether two back-to-back negative quarters constitute a recession. Maybe you could settle this argument, Bob. How do you see it? What definition do you use? What do you look at? How would you characterize what we're in?
Look, we're clearly slowing. Whether it's a recession or not is somewhat meaningless. We are slowing. You look at the employment numbers. Yeah, there are a lot of jobs available, but employment is slowing. Layoffs are rising. Consumer spending is falling. Until and unless we solve the inflation problem, Neil, we're in hot water. And in the meantime, the Fed is between the proverbial rock and hard place.
So, it's not across the board. And to your, looking at recession and what we're going through right now, there is evidence to support much of the administration's argument that if this is a recession, given the job growth we've seen and given some of the companies that have talked about strong consumer demand, look at Apple, of course, strong demand for those iPhones. They're not exactly cheap items. You've seen, Bafo sales, even with record price increases at McDonald's and Chipotle, covers the gamut. Now, I know this isn't everyone, but what do you make of the resiliency of the consumer through all of this?
The consumer still has a lot of cash on their balance sheet accumulated when the government mailed them trillions of dollars and when they stayed at home in their pajamas because they were scared of COVID. That money's still on the balance sheet. So they're using some of that, Neil, that's giving us robust areas of our economy. But it's starting to fragment. It's not like everything was strong. Look at the second quarter earnings. They're mixed. Yeah, less bad than feared, for sure, but probably slowing from here. That's the problem. The trajectory is in the wrong direction.
Bob, you mentioned earlier we might be through the worst of the inflation problem. Are we through the worst of the stock market problem? In other words, given this month, unless something falls completely out of bed in the next few hours, we're looking at heady gains in all the market averages, including the NASDAQ, up more than 11%. Will we look back at this time as the turnaround, or how do you see it?
Neil, look, this rally has been the most impressive since the bear market started, but we still haven't seen the give up that occurs at natural bottoms. So I don't think we're out of the woods. Absent a significant recession, I don't think there's a whole lot of downside, but I would believe second half of this year, from June 30 to December 31, stock prices are likely to be up, but maybe not by a whole lot.
All right, we'll watch closely. Bob, have yourself a good weekend. Always good catching up with you. Bob Dahl.